What's up, Brightmoor Kids? God uses many things in our lives to help shape us, and it's the same with Joseph. He had many setbacks in life. In fact, he had some of the worst things that could happen to a person take place in his life. Let's check in with Boudreaux to see how Joseph responded to these things and how he lived.
What's up, kids? It's me, Boudreaux here. We are continuing our series called Living a Dream. I want to show you something. See this handsome fella right here? That is my Uncle Ned. He is a world-famous doctor. What? You don't think some dude from the bayou could have a famous uncle doctor? Well, I do. Anyway, he travels all over the world giving people medical attention when they have a need. You know, he's been to over 40 countries and he has helped save thousands of lives. Well, something's really bad has happened to my Uncle Ned. I found out the other day he's got cancer. Well, the doctors tell him that he only has 6 months to live. When I heard that, I got super sad and I asked God, why? Why does something so bad have to happen to somebody so good? You know, I asked the kids the exact same thing. I asked them what is the best person they know that has had something really, really bad happen to them. This is what they had to say.
One time my mom got in a car accident.
My pawpaw got really sick.
When I was little, my dad died. One time my brother got really, really sick.
Once my Nana broke her shoulder. My grandfather was in the hospital and he was very sick.
It's so hard for us to figure out why bad things have to happen to such good people. They shouldn't have to suffer. I mean, it's hard for us to understand. Kids, listen here. We live in an evil world. And because we live in an evil world, that means bad things are gonna happen, even to good people. But that don't mean that God can't use those bad things to bring out something amazing in our life. Take Joseph, for example. Joseph, he was thrown in a pit, he was sold into slavery, and he was stuck in a prison all alone for a crime he did not commit. Well, as you're gonna learn in your lesson today, Joseph understood that all of his pain and suffering was necessary for God to use him to lead an entire nation out of starvation. You see, when bad things happen to good people, God can use those situations to bring about his plan. There's nothing too hard for God. Ain't that awesome? Well, kids, it's time for you to get into today's lesson and learn how God took all of the bad things that happened to Joseph and he turned them into good, not only for Joseph, but it's for his people too. The lesson's called, Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? Well, it's me, Boudreaux, telling you to sit back, relax, and keep living the dream, baby.
Joseph was mistreated and hated by his brothers, who sold him into slavery. He was falsely accused by Potiphar and Potiphar's wife. He was then thrown into prison for a crime he did not commit. He was forgotten by a man who was supposed to help him get out of prison and was left to rot for 2 whole years. But the story doesn't stop there. In spite of all that, Joseph was able to see that God's hand was at work in his life. In this lesson, you will learn how God can use the bad things that happen in life and turn them around to accomplish his good plan, his purpose. Our What's Up talks about that. So let's go and find out what's up.
What is up, the children? I am Devontae, and my last name starts with good, not bad. But you know who could use something bad and make it good? Jesus. And that's what our What's Up is. It's God can use the bad for good. Devontae, good, what does that mean? It means if, let's say, you're at airtime and you're jumping around and you hurt your ankle, God can use that hurt ankle. And let's say you're sitting down because you can't stand and you have a bad ankle, and then somebody comes up to you and they're like, hey, I'm gonna sit next to you and I wanna know about Jesus. And then you tell them about Jesus. If you weren't sitting there because of your broken ankle, then how are you wouldn't have had the opportunity to tell them about Jesus. So basically what I'm saying is break your ankle and you might have an opportunity to tell somebody about Jesus. And this is our What's Up. God can use the bad for good. I'll say it again. God can use the bad for good. I'll say it one more time. God can use the bad for good. Okay, we're gonna say it together all at the same time. Let's have the boys go first. We're gonna have the boys stand to your feet. I'll give you 5 seconds to stand up and you're gonna say it with me. I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, you're all standing. You're gonna say it at the same time as me on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. God can use the bad for good. Great job, boys. Let's do it one more time. Let's do it even louder than what we just did. On the count of 3, same time as me. 1, 2, 3. God can use the bad for good. Great job, boys. Sit down, girls. Standing up to your feet. I'll give you 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Great job. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and you're gonna say it at the same time as me. 3, 2, 1. God can use the bad for good. Let's do it one more time, girls. Only say it with me. 3, 2, 1. God can use the bad for good. Okay, great job, boys and girls. Stand to your feet. I want to do this all at the same time, as loud as you can. I want to feel the ground shake when you say this. Okay, ready? On the count of 3, everybody standing, boys and girls. 3, 2, 1. God can use the bad for good. Great job, and that is our What's Up.
Hey kids, it's your favorite famous daredevil, Bolt Manglespleen. And it's time for another stunt. But before we do that, let's learn today's power verse. Today's power verse says,
and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Romans 8:28.
huzzah! That was a great power verse. But you know what? I'm gonna need some help from my future stunt artists out there. Let's have all those crazy girls stand up and say it with me on the count of 3, okay? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Romans 8:28.
Great job, girly girls. You can have a seat. Now, I need all the wild boys to stand up and say the power verse with me on the count of 3. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Romans 8:28.
Great job. You can sit down. Now, let's go to the stunt. You know, kids, today's power verse really got old Bolt thinking. I know what you're saying. Hey, that doesn't happen very often, and you'd be right. But I started thinking about, when bad things happen, like, remember when I did that stunt and I crashed the car into the tree and I landed in the tree? I thought that was a bad day. And the fire department had to get old Bolt out of the tree. But I met one of the fire department guys, and he said that someday he wanted to be a daredevil. We became friends after that, and now I'm training him. He's gonna be just like me, right? How exciting for that guy. So something that seemed to be bad turned into something good. And that's what God can do. God can take things that seem bad or are bad, and he can really make them good. So let's all stand up and say the power verse together on the count of 3. Everybody, 1, 2, 3.
And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Romans 8:28.
Kids, today is so dangerous. There's not even a word to describe it, because I've brought with me a monster of a man. I have a professional football player who's gonna be in our stunt today. His name is Nick. He's 7'10". He's 418 pounds, and he's a trained professional hitter. So what I've asked him to do, hold on a second. What I've asked Nick to do is I want him to run into me as hard as he can. You got that? Yeah. I want you to run and hit me as hard as you can. Old Bolt can take it. Are you up for it?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure, Tiny?
Yep.
Oh, he thinks he's got this thing. We'll see. All right, Nick, are you ready? Come on, boy, let me have it. This ain't nothing. Oh! Oh! Oh, we're still rolling. Good. This bull bagel spleen. I nailed it. I could take 3 or 4 of those. More. I'll see you kids next week.
Today's Bible story takes place long after we last left Joseph. It's found in Galatians 5. Joseph had taken good care of his father, his brothers, and their families. Joseph had taken good care of his father, his brothers, and their families for many years while they lived in Egypt. One day, Joseph's father, Jacob, died of old age. It was a very sad time for Joseph and his brothers. They had to prepare his father for the burial. Once his father was buried, Joseph's brothers began to get worried. They believed that Joseph was going to try to take revenge on them for selling him into slavery and mistreating him. The brothers told Joseph, "Please forgive us for what we did to you. We will be your slaves if you want. Just don't kill us." Joseph cried when he heard this. He was so sad that they couldn't see that he was not that kind of person. After all, Joseph had forgiven them years earlier. He did not want to hurt them. He wanted to forgive them.
After all, Joseph had forgiven them years earlier. He did not want to hurt them. He wanted to bless them. At that moment, Joseph said something amazing to them. Joseph said, "Don't be afraid of me. Am I God to judge and punish you? As far as I am concerned, you intended to harm me, but God intended all for good. He brought me to high position I have today, so I could save the lives of many people. No, don't be afraid." The brothers couldn't believe what they were hearing. Not only did Joseph not want to harm them, but Joseph believed that God had actually allowed all the bad things to happen in his life so that God could use them to bring about good for Joseph and his family. That wasn't all Joseph said to them. Joseph told the brothers, "I will take care of you and your children from this day forward." Wow, what an incredible attitude. Joseph believed that God could use even the worst situations in his life to bring about great things for him and his family. This is exactly what God did. In your lesson today, you're going to learn that this is not only true for Joseph, but for you also. God can use the bad things that happen in your life for good. Listen carefully so you can learn from Joseph's attitude.
The Faithful Hall of Fame, Joseph. This is Joseph, who was the son of Israel and Rachel. But he had 11 brothers who hated him and sold him into slavery. After being put in jail, Joseph told of the future of Egypt when he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, and Joseph found favor with the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh made Joseph a leader in his kingdom. Just as Joseph had told the Pharaoh, Egypt had 7 years of abundance. Then the 7 years of abundance came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. But the Egyptians had food to eat because Joseph had planned for the famine. There was famine in all the other lands, and many came to Joseph to buy food. There was even a famine in the land that Joseph came from. So when Israel heard that there was grain in Egypt, he sent his sons to buy some. But Israel did not send Benjamin with the others because he was afraid that harm might come to him. When Joseph's brothers came to him, Joseph recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger. So Joseph decided to test his brothers. He had his interpreter tell them to send for Benjamin, who had stayed home. And then he threw his brothers in jail for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph let all but one of the brothers take grain to their starving households with the instruction to bring Benjamin back. But Joseph provided for his brothers' journey and gave them grain and silver. The brothers did exactly as Joseph instructed, as they were scared that God was punishing them for what they had done to Joseph so many years before. They traveled home to their father's house, then back to Egypt. Now that he had seen that they brought Benjamin, Joseph was overwhelmed, so he released the brother who was still in prison. But Joseph decided to play one more trick on his brothers. He sent the brothers away but told his servant to hide his silver cup in Benjamin's bag. Then Joseph told the servant to go after the brothers and retrieve the cup. The brothers hadn't traveled far before the servant stopped them and accused them of stealing the cup. Joseph could no longer control himself before his attendants. He made them leave so he could be alone with his brothers, and he told his brothers who he really was.
Ta-da!
He told them of his life and all he had experienced, and he forgave them for what they had done. God was with Joseph and took care of him and showed him favor.
How many of you have ever had something bad happen to you? Or how many of you have ever had something bad happen to someone you love? Or how many of you have ever known something bad to happen to someone who was a strong Christian? Many people get confused as to why God would allow bad things to happen to good Christian people. They assume that when someone is a Christian, things are supposed to be perfect for them. But that's not the way life is. Even Jesus had difficulties in his life. Bad things do happen to good people sometimes. It was no different for Joseph. He had some pretty terrible things happen to him. We've studied his life for the past several weeks. Let's see if we can list some of the bad things that happened to Joseph in his life. His brothers hated him. He was sold into slavery. He was tempted by Potiphar's wife. So many bad things, the list goes on and on and on. Even though he went through so many bad things, Joseph never lost faith in God. He never stopped believing that God was at work in his life. Remember what Joseph said in our Bible story today? He told his brothers, "As far as I am concerned, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. He brought me to the high position I have today so I could save the lives of many people." How could Joseph think this way? How could he look at all the bad things that happened in his life and still have faith that God was working behind the scenes? It's because Joseph realized
Bad things happen. Ugh, bad things happen in life. We get hurt. People let us down. We lose friends. People get sick. Bad things are just a part of life. Jesus told us in John 16:33, "In this world, you will have trouble." It's not a maybe. We will have trouble. Bad things will happen. They happen to Joseph. They will happen to you. And the key to this is...
Remember, God is in control. Joseph didn't freak out when he was sold into slavery. He knew God was in control. Joseph didn't go crazy when he was put in prison for something he didn't even do. He knew God was in control. Joseph didn't lose heart when he had to wait 2 years before he was released from prison. He knew God was in control. Joseph knew that although it seemed on the outside like things were going terribly, behind the scenes, God was working to make everything come for his own awesome plan. If Joseph had never been sold into slavery and thrown into prison, he never would have been able to interpret the dream for Pharaoh. And he never would have become the ruler of the land. So never forget,
God can take the bad and use it for good. God has a way of taking things that others meant for evil and making them work out for the good of those who love him. That's what our power verse says. That's what we need to understand. When someone close to you gets sick, believe that God can use that bad thing to bring about something good. When one of your parents loses their job, believe that God can use that bad thing and turn it into something good. He may have an even better job waiting for them. God can use the bad for good. You might be wondering, would God really let something bad happen to someone just so his plan could be accomplished? What good would that do? In fact, God would. How do I know? because that's what he did with his son, Jesus. God allowed Jesus to be beaten and nailed to a cross so that his plan of salvation could be brought about for you and me. God can take what seems to be awful and use it to bring about something amazing and good. We have to remember that he is in control, and we can trust him no matter what.
And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Romans 8:28.
What's up, kids? It's time for our review questions. We've got Connor versus Danielle. Pick your side, but make sure, more importantly, that you're answering along with us with the questions. All right, first one. What's up today?
What's up is God can take the bad and use it for good.
Oh, you know, he had even some extra words in there, but that was it. We give the point to Connor. It was God can use the bad for good. All right, next one. True or false? Joseph never had anything bad happen to him.
False. He had a lot of bad stuff happen to him.
So many bad things. So many bad things. 2 points for Connor. What happened to Joseph's father in today's Bible story?
He passed away or died, sadly.
Yep, his father died. So we got 1 point for Danielle, 2 points for Connor. What did Joseph's brother offer Joseph after their father died?
For them to be slaves to Joseph.
Yep, exactly. Wow, we're tied now, 2-2. Did Joseph punish his brothers?
Is this a true or false or a yes or
It's
no?
a yes or no.
No.
No, he did not. He did not punish his brothers. Connor takes the lead. What did Joseph promise to do to his brothers and their families?
Take care of them?
Exactly. He promised to take care of them. We are tied again.
Woo-woo!
Okay. That's me ready.
Oh, it's okay.
Question. All right, fill in the blank. According to our lesson today, bad things blank.
Happen.
Bad things happen. She's got it. Danielle takes the lead by 1 point. According to our lesson today, remember blank is in control.
God is in control.
Exactly. God is in control. What a tight game. Tied again. Next one. According to our lesson today, God can take the bad and use it for blank.
Good.
Good. Yep, exactly. God can take the bad and use it for good. Danielle is now in the lead by 1. We've got one last question. Where was our power verse found?
Romans 8:28.
Oh, exactly. Wow. Great job,
The comeback.
guys.
Yup.
We ended with a tied game.
Well, I thought the last one was worth 2.
I never said that.
No. I think it's tied.
We ended with a tied game. I hope that you guys were able to follow along and answer the questions, and we'll see you guys next time.
3, 2, 1. God can use the bad for good. Great job, and that is our What's Up.
This series has been one that I am so excited you've been a part of. You know, we've learned so much from Joseph, and we have one more week. But I don't want you to lose what we learned today. You know, life is hard. There's gonna be times where some crazy things are happening, but I have seen time and time again in my life and people's lives all around, and even in Joseph's, that God can turn it around. We've been doing this worship song on Sunday mornings when you're here in person, where we actually sing God Turn It Around. And he takes the bad and he makes something good out of it. And that's exactly what we learned. So remember that, don't forget it, and come back for one more week here at Brightmoor Kids with us when it comes to the series on Joseph. We'll see you later.